due to some violent content. Parental discretion is advised.
Welcome to Collard Greens and Nerdy Things, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy. I'm King, and this is my partner in crime, JC3. And today we are talking about the final episode of Daredevil Born Again, season 1. So, big episode, a lot of stuff happened. Jay, kick it off.
This was a very satisfying finale, very satisfying conclusion to the first season. I feel like it set up a big challenge for Matt going into season 2, just because of all the events that happened in this one episode here. I was very entertained by it. Love the story of it. We get to see Bullseye again. And we see him in a way that's not just like an assassin, you know what I mean, or a gun for hire. We see what gave him more depth in season 3 of Daredevil. We also get some answers on Vanessa, her reasonings for hiring him in the first place. And we get reunions, man. We get our boy the Punisher up in there. We get the back and forth again between him and Daredevil. Man, it's that was like probably my favorite part of the whole episode. With the second one being Mayor Fisk, and this dude is in complete power, and he is comfortable doing whatever he wants to do, really, with his task force and just gaining power day by day. And he's so powerful that he gives us one of the most vicious, violent, gruesome deaths that I believe we have ever seen in the MCU. This whole episode, this whole finale was violent. I think the most violent things that we've seen and come from Marvel. So I was completely blown away by this episode. For me, 10 out of 10. I love where they left off. It kind of makes sense that at first this season was supposed to be, I believe, 18 episodes. But now they've cut it in half with 9, and I guess the season 2 will have 9 as well. But we will see the continuation of these events that go moving forward. So I was heavily entertained. I love this episode. So what you think, King?
So I agree with you, man, 100%. I've got to say that um, Marvel Television is back. You know what I mean? I know we often say, "Oh man, they're back. Oh, they're off. They're back. They're off." And this was one of the most comic book accurate and gritty portrayals of Matt since we've really seen from the Netflix. The show had a lot of depth. I gotta say, for me and my current thoughts right now, the show was a 10 out of 10. It gave me everything. You felt heartfelt, you felt sad in certain moments for certain characters, you felt redeemed and vindicated in moments. It was really good. And I have to agree with you. One of my favorite parts of that entire episode was seeing uh, Daredevil and Punisher and their back and forth. I mean, they fight like an old married couple. It's hilarious. And you're right.
Yeah.
Fisk is fully unencumbered, right? He is 100% Kingpin. He's wearing the outfits, he's acting as such. And I mean, it really sets up, it's really good at giving us a conclusion for this season, but also setting up the stuff to come going forward and what kind of world we're looking at. And I've been making this comparison a little bit on the podcast and a little bit off screen, but this last episode really showed me that, I mean, this is in a sense Gotham. The way that the corruption plays, the way that the people feel in the streets about the city, um, just the overall feeling of this reminds me so much of Gotham. and so much of a Batman series. And I think that was a really good thing they did. So I'm glad to see everybody's back. I'm happy for these cameos. And I really can't wait to see what they do next, and to see the arguments between, you know, Punisher and Daredevil when Daredevil first gets out of the hospital. It's fantastic.
It's again, it was amazing. I like your comparison to Gotham. I would 100% agree. Looking at this episode, I got Dark Knight Rises vibes from it, with Bane trying to take over Gotham in the city. And essentially we see that in Red Hook.
Hmm.
And it's just it's crazy, man. We even get a scene where just a random kid is like he's just trying he's just outside. He's coming out from a store, he has things in his hand, and the police go in and they tell him to freeze, and like he does what they say, and they still just shoot him down, and you're wondering like, and even the one cop's wondering like, why would you do that? Like, he's just a kid. And this dude straight up puts a whole like mask over his face saying like, no, he's not a kid, he's a vigilante. That was one of the heaviest scenes like we've ever seen in Marvel television. Like that was insane. But doubling back to Punisher and Daredevil, again, like you got one hero that shows mercy to the criminals, like tries to believe in the justice system, whereas in the Punisher's view, as he would say, he's like, I'm gonna chop him up. I'm gonna chop them up there's no mercy here. Like they're going like, and but Daredevil believes that they're not worth killing. But Punisher, like, he's like, no, like anybody that's this corrupt, any people that run like that say they run with me like this, oh, I'm gonna mow him down. And that's exactly what Frank does, from helping Daredevil in his apartment, getting him out of his apartment before it blows up. We get, we get guts, everywhere we get brain matter that gets blown away. uh it's all in the dark, but you get the gist. People are getting tuned up, like down to multiple stab wounds, while Matt's just over here just saying, Frank, stop, just stop. I mean, it's like,
And he
yeah,
won't.
he told you what he will not stop. He will not stop at all. And even to the point, he won't stop to the point where he himself will go to one of the hideouts that this task force is in. He will go there by himself to take them all out. That is insane. And the amount of damage that he did to them before they eventually knocked him out, it was insane and ridiculous. We got hatchets to heads, bro. It was insane to see. And get kudos to Frank for taking like 3 or 4 shotgun blasts to the back before they just knocked my dude out. He's on another level, man. Like that was insane.
That was true Punisher. That is true Punisher as we know from the comics. A ruthless dude who, once a bad guy gets in his sights, they're done. They're done. His mission is to take out anybody who's perceived to be a bad guy doing crime or in the way. It was ruthless, and like we've been saying so far, and for the audience, it was probably, I won't even say probably, it is the most bloody and violent show or movie that the MCU has ever put out. There was a lot of stabbing, there was guts, there was blood, there was a lot of people unalived throughout this episode, but that is true Punisher. And inside that apartment, they're going back and forth about, Matt's trying to get him to stop killing him. He's trying to kill him. Matt's trying to, not save them, but, subdue them without murdering. They end up finding the guy that killed White Tiger, excuse me, by his same bullets. And I mean, the scenes that we had up there in that apartment were crazy. Dude is held against the wall by a knife in his hand. He can't move. Frank's 2 seconds away from shooting him. And I mean, what a beautiful moment, even in all this chaos, right? That they're getting that vindication of getting this dude who killed an innocent man. And the part that you had mentioned about Frank going to that hideout, Frank was listening to that police scanner, and he was so angry and so done that he fell for that trap. They knew he was going to come. They set him up. But what they didn't know is you've only heard the myths, the legend of Frank Castle. You've never seen him in action or who he is. And when he showed up and he took that one dude hostage, I mean, like you said, he took like 3 or 4 shotgun blasts and he probably killed 8 dudes before they got inside, before they knocked him out and they got inside. And even when they got inside to sit him down, Frank was Frank.
Yes, he was. Yeah, and I love that this episode also gave him some depth. We don't just get the war, torn grunting, Punisher in this, which by the way, he grunts a lot. He grunts a lot while he's killing people, like it to the point where it's almost comical, like that was Frank is Frank. But we also get to see some sadness from him because he's insulted by this task force that idolizes him. Even after they beat him down, all of them are sitting in front of him saying, we will follow you. You don't have to, really hide anymore. But he's sickened by them, and you can just see by the look on his face when he asked them, like, you really think my pain, like my loss, like you felt that, when he voiced those words, and he was just defiant to the end. He said he would not join them, and they just proceeded to beat him down. It almost got to the point where you're kind of worried about Frank. That's the other thing I liked about the episode. This made us, or at least me, worried that he may actually die. I completely forgot that he's supposed to have a TV special coming up, and I was like hoping this wasn't a prequel, or something. But yeah, he showed a lot of emotion and a lot of depth in this episode, just as well as I would say Fisk showed a lot of emotion. And well, he showed emotion, but it's a type of emotion that's pretty much insane, and crazy. Again, this episode has a lot, including betrayals. And we witnessed that in this episode when the commissioner goes to one of Fisk's people. I apologize, I forget her name, but he goes to her to try to get her to, like, not necessarily see the light, but shine a light on what Fisk is doing to help him. Uh, and this is one of the people that she's one of the people we actually think does not agree with Fisk's methods and might actually help. And it turns out that we were completely wrong. It's all based on fear, in my opinion. She sees Fisk taking power, and she knows what he's capable of, and she doesn't want to die, or she doesn't want to have anybody in her family die. So you kind of get it, but it still sucks. But she betrays the commissioner and gives Fisk a recording of everything that the commissioner is saying and plotting against him. And for that, instead of the commissioner getting a nice, peaceful ride back to his home, he's greeted by one of Fisk's task force men, just put on the team, and he's told to take him to an undisclosed location. This undisclosed location has plasticware just everywhere. That's never a good thing, just right off the bat. And we just see a group of the police force with Fisk. And in a way, this turns into what was supposed to be a simple ride home into a straight up execution. And but it just goes to show that the commissioner was right. From earlier on in the season, he said, you once a gangster, always a gangster. And in this finale, he says, point blank, like you can't stop being the kingpin. That's just who you are. And boy, does he show how much he's the kingpin because, well, I've seen a man get chopped. I've seen a man get chopped in the neck. I've seen all that, but I've never seen a man get his head squished in like a watermelon. The most brutal scene we've ever seen in the MCU, and they showed everything. They it If you could tell, I'm almost speechless. It was insane, bro.
Yeah, man. I think what I really noticed, and I'm gonna just backtrack a little bit. Um, Fisk, his one of the people who works on his staff, she knew that when he said that he wanted to know everyone who was loyal and everyone who was down, with his cause, he she knew that if she didn't play ball, she was gonna die. So I think when she gave up the commissioner, it was kind of a Hail Mary, and they made it a point to visually show her being upset when Fisk was actually playing the recording of him talking. She was visibly
Yeah,
upset. She was not okay what was happening. She's the one character on Fisk's staff that is not okay with the kingpin portion of his personality. But in this moment, she didn't have much of a choice but to go along or die or be found out to be one of the people who won't go along with his plan, And man, when the commissioner got in the car, there was a quick moment where the driver, who was part of Fisk's task force, he's known since he was a rookie. And he says, "Hey man, I haven't seen you since you were a rookie," and then he notices the Punisher tattoo on his neck and asked him if he was part of the task force. And then it kind of went silent because he knew that he was on the way to his death. And when he showed up, you know, they were doing this whole kind of speech thing that Fisk was doing in front of all of these officers and chopped him in the throat, set him down. And then, like you said, the last thing that I've seen this kind of crazy was probably The Boys uh in the last season when what's his name ripped the dude in half. You know what I mean? Homelander ripped that dude in half. That was like the Spider-Man variant. This was that level. For people who might be watching this later, haven't seen it, or maybe you're just interested in it but you haven't watched, that scene is very gnarly. He gets squeezed to death by Fist's bare hands, and then Fist grabs a napkin and politely taps his mouth like he was just eating a fine escargot. The refinement in him never leaves, right? So it was crazy, man. That scene was crazy. But on the other hand, we did get a cool coming of home, and that was Karen Page. She ends up being
okay.
the person who called up the Punisher to help out Daredevil when nobody else could. And Daredevil was just getting out of the hospital. He's gonna need help. And something that I want to mention, that if you watch the Netflix shows, Karen and Frank have been making eyes at each other for a while. And you can see in this episode, for us people who can visually see, that they clearly got a little something going on. And Matt can't see it, but because of Matt's abilities, he can hear it. And he
You can hear it. Yeah.
notices that both of their blood pressure and their heart rates changed when they got in the room. So clearly there's something to that. There's a little something between them two. But obviously Daredevil and Karen have had a relationship. So she tries to smooth it over a little bit by saying, "Well, didn't you hear my heart when you came in?" But she's smitten on that bad boy. She likes that bad boy energy. You know what I'm saying? And it was
Yeah.
crazy. But the saddest thing after everything that Punisher said to those men about not knowing their struggle, not knowing what happens, not knowing what's going on, just like the swordsman, he ends up behind bars.
Yep. Yeah, we see that Mayor Fisk has kept many people underground below, behind bars, along with swordsmen, and we, like you said, we even see the Punisher down there as well. I wonder if they'll add any other, cameos, for next season of people that are down there. Uh, but it does set up a good it sets up maybe a possible good arc for the swordsman, because hopefully we can get more of him in season two, because we have a lot of ground level characters that I think they're starting to build, and it would be nice to still see him. But with Punisher, again, we know that we have a TV special coming up with him, so it's going to be very intriguing, interesting, and exciting to see how he gets out, because we know that's pretty much what it's leading to, him escaping from there, and where that will lead. What happens after he escapes. What will he do? That was interesting. While we had that, we also had Karen and Matt trying to figure out what was the next move. You know how they're going to save the city. And I have to say, while they were on the roof at night, while the city was blacked out, and the camera kind of focused more on the city and the sky for a second while she was talking to Matt. I I thought for a second, because I was looking up at the sky, I thought they were trying to maybe do like some type of Watcher cameo, which like just because that would be awesome. 'Cause they had a lot of stars up there. I was looking to see if like they were different, like their eyes like in stars and stuff like that. I don't think there was. But good idea, Marvel, if you want to do that for your upcoming Avengers movies. If you want to give us a Watcher looking at stuff, live action from the sky. Come on, Disney, you got the money, you can do it. Anyway, uh, yeah, but that scene with them trying to figure out what was the next step, and Matt pretty much says, we have to build an army, and that army for now entails other police officers, including Cherry and the Asian woman as well, that was that helped with the bank robbery, assisted with the
Mhm.
bank robbery. She was the lead detective on that. So we see them. I hope down the line we see maybe some Defender action. Maybe bring in a Luke Cage. Uh, if you want to bring in Danny Rand, you can bring in Danny Rand, or you can bring in Colleen Wing, considering she was the Iron Fist before the new Iron Fist before the show ended. In my opinion, she was better than he was anyway. But just we can get more street level characters, maybe even Moon Knight. Get Moon Knight some shine in this. Like there's a lot of possibilities, and I think that's was a great way that the episode left us off with. We have Matt with his biggest challenge, because he's always had the law. But what do you do now when the mayor can bend the law to his will and make whatever he does legal? How do you defeat that? That's something that we'll have to see in season two.
Right. So, for those who aren't super big comic book fans, in the comic run, uh, Daredevil Born Again, that this is kind of loosely based off of, that is when the Defenders get formed. So, you did have Moon Knight, you had Punisher, Moon Knight, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Spider Man, and Misty Knight,
Misty Knight. Yep.
who was in the Luke Cage show. So there's a solid chance that the next season, because this show kind of left it definitely open ended enough, that the next season we definitely could see the Defenders and more. Um, Fingers crossed that maybe one day we'll get a Spider-Man interaction, but we have to see how the Sony thing works out. But for today, this is where we end. So, as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming along on this journey with us to watch Daredevil Born Again. We will have one follow-up episode talking about Daredevil after this one. But please go down, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought. What was your favorite parts? And what are the things that you really liked out of the episode or maybe didn't like? So for here us at Collie Greens and Nerdy Things, I'm King. That's JC3. And as always,
Y'all stay nerdy now.